Reports say Iran could make enough material for a nuclear bomb in the coming weeks. OAN's Christina Bobb spoke with the U.S. Senate candidate James Tarantin about what the implications are of this.
James Tarantin, you were born in Israel and now you're a candidate for the U.S. Senate in the state of Maryland. Reports say that Iran is weeks away from having enough material to develop a nuclear bomb if it chooses to do so. What's your thought on that?
Christina, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. And look, the fact of the matter here is that people are seeing what is happening in the Ukraine and they're asking what's next. And Iran is on the verge of having an atomic bomb, as many worthy news sources have been saying it, and it is unacceptable to me and I think to most people in the United States. Iran, for the past few decades, have declared that it's their intention to see death to the West. And look, Ronald Reagan, a president that was respected by both Democrats and Republicans, he wanted a world without nuclear weapons. So for me to understand what is happening is important. I think that the reason why they are close to have nuclear weapons is because the career politicians in Washington, D.C. that have truly corrupt intentions, they are easing the sanctions on Iran. Secondly, Iran sees the United States as a weaker player in the world because of what happened with Afghanistan, and they see that we are divided at home with a weak economic performance. And they also see now China backing Russia and not even us. So all these ingredients are actually allowing them to have a nuclear weapon. Now, look, 2 years ago, who would have imagined that COVID would happen or that we'll experience now Ukraine and Russia? So just imagine a world, an Armageddon scenario when Iran has a nuclear weapon and can bomb Jerusalem.
Right, and given what's happening
and that's the danger.
Right, and given what's happening in in the Ukraine, does Russia support Iran's efforts to potentially develop a nuclear weapon?
I absolutely. I think it's going to be a triangle between China that wants to be able to invade Taiwan and Russia that wants to invade Ukraine and Iran that wants to be able to develop a nuclear weapon. So everybody's pretty much supporting each other for their own national interest, which I think is a very dangerous triangle that will really hit the United States, Israel, and its NATO allies in the coming years.
And Israel certainly has been a very strong and important ally for the United States. What's their position on all of this, and how does it compare to what you think the United States should be doing?
Well, I think that the United States should absolutely support Israel. I think it's a very important ally in the Middle East. I think it's one of, if not the only, one of the few true democracies that is there. And I think Israel is not going to allow it. After what, the Jewish people experienced the Holocaust, I think they're not going to allow a hostile nation like Iran to have it. So I think what we should do here at home is that we've got to be able to make sure that we produce more oil so we're less dependent on other people. We've got to be able to make sure that we are stronger at home. So they're not going to see us as weak. And we've got to be able to rally the world to put tough sanctions on Iran beyond the NATO allies, so they will be so cornered and they won't be able to develop their nuclear weapons and get to that point.
James Tarantin, U.S. Senate candidate for Maryland, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Christina. Thank you for having me.